A gorgeous, buxom, southern woman tore through my heart like a coastal storm called Lisa. We were an I can't, but I love you, but I can't kind of story. Like, I can't, but do you want to come over and watch another episode of The Golden Girls and maybe sleep over? And like, I really shouldn't, but I do love The Golden Girls and your bed. Kind of 2-year story. So when the last I can't fell from her lips to my ears, I was heartbroken and licking my wounds on a Saturday afternoon when Shyrus called. Shyrus was a veterinary technician, and she'd heard that Lisa and I split, and so she called to ask me on a date to the Pima County Animal Control Center, which is a vet tech's idea of romance. I had a full-time job, I was a student full-time, I had a cat, I was in no shape to add a dog to my family, but she assured me she wouldn't pressure me, she just wanted to visit the dogs, and admittedly, given my self-pity and my breakup, visiting a bunch of sad sacks of loyal, rejected animals seemed apropos. So I totally agreed to the date, though admittedly I was in a foul mood, doing my best to move on in a high-kill shelter, when Shyrus encouraged me to just pick one of the dogs to visit, so I saw this meaty little compact golden pit bull across the kennels who was gnashing her teeth at her yapping little kennel mate, and I said, I want to see that one. And the shelter thought I meant the little yapper, and I said, no, I want the one biting that dog. I said, that's not her nature. I'd be biting that little yapper too if we shared a kennel. So the shelter named her Baby. Baby came to visit me. She rolled right down onto her belly, showed me her sweet pink little belly to give her a rub, and I said, now this is this dog's nature, as if to redeem both my foul mood and her foul temperament. Shyrus had visited a couple other dogs. She had preferred the yapper to Baby, so naturally our incompatibility was sealed and we parted ways. The following day, I knew Lisa was out with somebody else, and naturally I was miserable, and my mind wandered back to the dog pound and the rejected loyal animals and Baby, and I decided to go and visit her one more time. I walk up to the cage, her golden head rises, her almond eyes, her tail starts to wag, I can see it. You came back. I'll take that one. So I let her settle into my one-bedroom Tucson bungalow apartment for a couple of days before I leashed up my running sneakers, or laced up my running sneakers and leashed up my dog. And my little animal, Animalia, I called her Amalia, and headed off for a run. 2 minutes in, she stopped in the road, wouldn't budge. Figures I picked a broken dog, the one who doesn't want to run, or even walk, so I picked her up and carried her home. She dramatically threw herself onto the carpet for a dog that had just been carried home and rolled herself onto her belly, and I gave her a rub and said, that's this dog's nature, lazy dog. As I was rubbing her belly, I noticed something different. It was like her stomach had like popped in like the last day, and her teats or nipples or whatever you want to call them were a little swollen, and there was pus coming out of one of them when I looked real close. I was alarmed. I called Shyrus the vet tech, Shyrus called the vet, and Shyrus's idea of a second date was an appointment for an ultrasound. We're at the vet's lubing up my dog. Shyrus and I have agreed through our eyes that this is way too intimate too soon, when the vet declares there are a lot of puppies in there. Shyrus and I gasped the gasp of two people who just got pregnant on the first date. And the vet says, yep, 2 to 3 weeks, she'll be whelping. Pima County Animal Control said they hadn't made a mistake like that in 11 years. But if I would just bring the dog back in, they'd abort the puppies and spay the dog for free. I realized this was possibly the first time ever and only time in my life that I would have to contemplate an accidental pregnancy. Unfortunately, I heard Madonna's Papa Don't Preach at just the right moment and decided I'm in trouble deep and I'm keeping my babies. So, in a relationship of convenience with the vet tech, she helped me to build a whelping bed, which is a kiddie pool lined with blankets. I bought What to Expect When You're Whelping. And when Lisa heard that I was having babies without her, she immediately ditched her fling, called me, asked to be the doula, and we started watching The Golden Girls again. When the big day came, I came home from work to check on Amalia, and she was in my laundry basket, of course not in the actual whelping bed, and she was panting, and I tried to coax her out, and she finally came out of the basket, and she just started walking out my bedroom door into the hallway when I saw this black sack hanging from her lady parts. And I reached out just in time, and I caught Doc, the very first puppy. They just kept coming. From midday to midnight, Amalia had 10 puppies. Oh yeah, 1-bedroom carpeted apartment. Yeah. So Lisa helped me name all the puppies, and no, not after the Golden Girls. There were just too many of them, so we went with old-timey country singers. Doc, and by the way, Doc, Dolly, Carlene, I'm getting help because you all try to remember 80 of your kids' names when you have them immediately and all at once. Doc, Dolly, Carlene, Winona, Loretta, Winona, Alice, Penelope, Hank, and Wanda. And they were all born these quiet, cooing squirms, except one of them who was just born a talker. He was high-pitched squeals and yapping, and I called to Lisa, Lisa, we've got a talker. And it was not out of pain, it was more like out of opinions. To which Lisa responded, that one's gotta be Wanda, after Wanda Jackson. So my lease did not account for 42 legs under one roof. So I had to do my very best to conceal them and contain any of their damage. So after about a week, they all were big enough to just throw themselves over the side of the whelping bed, the puppy pool. And so when I came home from work to check on them, my apartment was just littered with escapees, like little pork chops just passed out everywhere. So I got some plywood and some chicken wire to build this monstrosity to contain them, and they just got bigger and scaled the wire. And when I came home from work now, I could just hear them sniffing at the bottom of the door because they'd all already gotten out. And so when I turned the lock, opened the door, I just saw all their frenetically wagging tails, so excited I came home. And just beyond their tails, on the carpet behind them, I saw just pools and pools of shit. So you know, one puppy poops 6 times a day. Multiply that times 8, and Amalia's postpartum diarrhea sort of spell, and it wasn't nice. My landlord evicted me, then unevicted me, then we just mutually decided I needed a bigger place without carpeting. So I rented a house for enough room for all of us, paid a couple $1,000 in vet bills, and it was kind of an amazing experience. It took me about a year to find homes for all of them, except one. So flashback to about a week after the puppies were born, and Lisa had finally gotten around to flipping over all the puppies and called from the other room, Amanda, Wanda's missing some toes, and he has a penis. So it turns out Wanda was a boy with a whole bunch of congenital defects. He just has a special paw with a foot pad, and he's missing some teeth, and he has an obscenely long tongue that hangs out of his mouth all the time. And he's got like this weird fur pattern on his head that creates like a fin. He's just a complete and total mess. And whenever I leave the house, he howls operatically, and when I come home, he smacks me with his special paw and looks up at me with his eyes, just like his mama's, and I can hear him say, "You came back." So I chose that one. And it turned out that all I really needed to weather the storm of a broken heart was unexpected motherhood, puppy love, and a lot more episodes of The Golden Girls. Thank you.